Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we will be talking about Kesha, and I do think that she is a wonderful example of an artist who in the more recent years has finally gotten to realize and show off her full creative potential. Kesha got into the music business at an early age. Her mother, Peeb Sebert, is a songwriter and has written for artists like Dolly Parton. Peeb has written several songs with Kesha and has writing credits in some of Kesha's songs, including Animal, Timber, and Disgusting, which eventually went to Miranda Cosgrove. Before her official debut as a musician, Kesha appeared in several music videos, like Katy Perry's 2008 video for I Kissed a Girl. After that, Kesha tried to secure a record deal, even going as far as breaking into Prince's house to give him one of her demo records. She said she never heard back from him, though.
I did sneak into Prince's house. True. I got kicked out. Oh, nothing surprised me about his house. I got his address and, snuck under the fence. And then, inevitably, got in, walked in on him having band practice, left my CD for him, and then got ousted.
Kesha signed her first record deal in 2005 at age 18, signing to RCA and Prescription Songs. Prescription Songs is a publishing company owned by Dr. Luke. After its founding in 2011, Kesha signed to Dr. Luke's label, Kemosabe Records. The label, which is under Sony, typically jointly signs artists to RCA Records, which is also owned by Sony. Other artists currently in this joint deal include Doja Cat and Becky G. Most were introduced to Kesha when she sang the hook on Flo Rida's 2009 song Right Round. She soon followed with her debut single TikTok, the lead single from her album Animal. As I'm sure is obvious, the song was inspired by partying and a specific experience of Kesha's where she said she woke up surrounded by beautiful women. TikTok was a pop culture moment. That's the best way to put it. Every girl who had a Facebook account had a picture caption, "Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy." Though TikTok debuted at number 79, it eventually peaked at number 1, making it the first number 1 song of the 2010s. Animal was released on New Year's Day of 2010 and debuted at number 1. This made Kesha the first artist to have their lead single and debut album go number 1 since Leona Lewis back in 2008. Kesha's way of talk rapping her lyrics and the evident hip-hop influence earned her comparisons to the Beastie Boys. Her electrifying and sometimes alarming pop beats were over the top in a way that was perfect for the dance floor or the soundtrack of a CW show. A lot of the songs just sound like throwaway pop, but they have this way of evoking controlled chaos and making you feel like a main character in a movie. In November of 2010, less than a year after releasing Animal, Kesha followed up with her EP Cannibal. It was originally meant to be a reissue of Animal, which is why it sounds like a B-side to that album. Cannibal was supported by the singles We Are Who We Are and Blow, as well as the promotional singles Sleazy and Cannibal. Both Cannibal and Animal were praised for their production, and Kesha was commended for her delivery on the songs presence-wise. However, some critics disliked the lyrical content and the heavy use of autotune on both projects. At the end of 2010, Kesha was named the Billboard Hot 100 Artist of the Year and Billboard's Top New Artist. Barry Weiss, chairman of the RCA and Jive label group, said that despite how people felt about Kesha, she was an artist with a point of view, which definitely aided her success. Kesha herself said her success was due to creating music that was celebratory and feel-good, but not necessarily in a bragging way. She told Billboard her music was just about being a bum and having fun. In response to being asked what her career held now that she had transcended bum status, Kesha said that she was still a bum, claiming, "Have you seen me? Yes, I am. All you have to do is look at Cannibal to see that you can still celebrate life in a non-douchebag way. Money really doesn't affect me when it comes to my happiness or deciding who I'm going to date, and that's something I want to hold on to. You can be really happy and you can look like a badass and be a total baller, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in a financial sense." Because of Kesha's meteoric and in some people's minds undeserved success, many wondered where this blonde, glitter-covered party monster came from and how she managed to top the charts so quickly. Rumors about her background circulated, a prominent one being that Kesha was Mick Jagger's daughter. This probably had a tiny bit to do with her self-admitted rock star persona that she said she'd picked up a little from growing up around musicians. And more likely, it was just another attempt in some ways to attribute her career to nepotism. Clearly, Kesha likely had some industry connections by way of her mom, but she's no relation to the Rolling Stones frontman. Aside from maybe Lady Gaga, Kesha was definitely one of the most hated pop stars at this time, and at the center of a pretty contrived moral panic. Several jokes were made about her appearance and the constant references to partying in her music, both of which were used as evidence for her apparently loose morals and ways. Kesha has spoken up several times about being hated and written off, typically to acknowledge she was aware of the hate and belittling, but she wasn't going anywhere. One such instance occurred in 2010 after she received criticism for her AMA's performance of Take It Off and We Are Who We Are. Kesha faced scrutiny for her costume, the songs themselves, and for smashing her guitar at the end of her performance. In interviews after the performance, Kesha said she wrote We Are Who We Are to show solidarity with her gay fans and was moved especially to do so after the suicide of Tyler Clementi, a college student who had taken his own life after his roommate outed him. As far as smashing the guitar, which had the words "Don't Hate" on it, it was Kesha's symbolic way of showing she didn't stand for bigotry. And over the decades, several rock artists have smashed their guitars, so it shouldn't have been that alarming. At the time, especially online, it was commonplace for caricatures and parodies of Kesha to be made, many of which painted her as an addict with an addled brain, capable only of parodying Electro Sleaze's pomp. Some, of course, weren't as hateful and were just made in good fun. Kesha did have a pretty strong fan base, especially amongst young adults, teens, and even middle schoolers, myself being one of them at the time. And she was such a hot topic that TikTok was even featured in a 2011 episode of Glee, one that tackled underage drinking. Despite her talent being constantly questioned, Kesha was and is a capable songwriter. Throughout her career, she's written for and made demos for many artists, some of which include Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, and the Korean girl group Girls' Generation. Kesha has writing credits in all of her songs on her studio albums, the only exception being Old Flames, a cover of the Dolly Parton song her mom helped her write. Kesha herself has said that she always wanted to showcase her writing ability more in her music, but was discouraged from it. Still, she considers herself to be a songwriter first and foremost. Before she was signed, Kesha had sent several demos to Dr. Luke. Some were pop and others were country, but she was eventually urged to go in the electro-pop direction since it was huge at the time and she had the presence to carry it. Kesha said that in her music, Dr. Luke encouraged her to play up the dumb party girl persona. For example, when she wanted to improve some of the lyrics to TikTok, he stopped her. Kesha said about this, "I remember specifically him saying, make it more dumb, make it more stupid, make it more simple, just dumb. I was like, okay, boys try to touch my junk, going to get crunk, everybody getting drunk or whatever, and he was like, perfect." Kesha said she never really thought her career debut would have been her rap-influenced pop, and had always wanted to show off her singing and writing abilities more. At the time, Kesha was touring as well, having supported Rihanna on her Last Girl on Earth tour throughout 2010 and early 2011. That same year, she embarked on her first headlining tour, the Get Sleazy Tour. Kesha was joined by supporting acts including LMFAO, Natalia Kills, and 303. 303 featured on Kesha's song Blah Blah Blah, which was on Animal. The following year, in 2012, she put out her sophomore album Warrior, her first official release under Kimosabi. The album has the same electropop feel, Caution to the Wind music as her earlier records. Warrior has a lot of the same electropop feeling, Caution to the Wind sort of music as Kesha's earlier records. However, a lot of it is more country and rock inspired, with Kesha citing Iggy Pop, who features on the album, as one of Warrior's main influences. Warrior was supported by 3 singles, Die Young, Come On, and Crazy Kids, which have all gone platinum since their release. Die Young was eventually pulled from US radio, as its promotional run coincided with a tragic shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary. Kesha tweeted an apology, claiming she'd been forced to sing the lyrics. She said in her tweets, "I understand. I have my very own issue with Die Young for this reason. I did not want to sing those lyrics and I was forced to. I'm so sorry for anyone who has been affected by this tragedy, and I understand why my song is now inappropriate. Words cannot express." Kesha later clarified and said she wasn't exactly forced, but did express concern over moving forward with the lyrics. She said on her website, "After such a tragic event, I was feeling a lot of emotion and sadness when I said I was forced to sing some of the lyrics to Die Young. Forced is not the right word. I did have some concerns about the phrase Die Young in the chorus when we were writing the lyrics, especially because so many of my fans are young, and that's one reason why I wrote so many versions of this song. But the point of the song is the importance of living every day to the fullest and staying young at heart, and these are things I truly believe." Warrior was also inspired by Kesha's spiritual journey, and songs like Love Into the Light were examples of that. Over the years, Kesha said she learned and experienced a lot and wanted to celebrate her flaws and imperfections as well as those of other people. Her song Supernatural details a spiritual journey of a different kind. The song is about sexual experiences Kesha claims to have had with ghosts. She even claimed in an interview that a ghost had once haunted her vagina. Supernatural actually did receive pretty positive reviews, with most highlighting the production as well as Kesha's vocal and musical growth. Though Warrior didn't perform as well as Animal, it received generally positive reviews also and still debuted in the top 10, taking the 6th spot. Again, one of the album's main criticisms was the heavy autotune and the sometimes too maximalist production, which competed with Kesha's vocals at points. Again, she was knocked for her references to partying and drinking, which Kesha actually refuses to apologize for on the album. From April to December of 2013, Kesha's docuseries My Crazy Beautiful Life chronicled her tour and her journey as an artist, including the making of Warrior. The docuseries resulted in a petition to free Kesha from Kemosabe Records. Fans felt Dr. Luke had stunted Kesha's creative growth and vision, having her scrap several songs that she intended to be on Warrior. Kesha's own mother seemed to agree with this and expressed her desire that Kesha be dropped from RCA altogether. The petition, titled Let Kesha Have Creative Freedom, claimed that Kesha had spoken up several times about not being able to release the music she wanted, and had even alluded to Dr. Luke's inappropriate behavior in unreleased songs like Dancing with the Devil. Just months after the petition was posted, the creator thanked fans for over 10,000 signatures. Currently, the petition has over 12,000 of its desired 13,000 signatures. Though Kesha began touring for Warrior, her momentum seemingly abruptly halted around the end of 2013, sort of beginning of 2014. Over the past 3 years, Kesha had put out albums and singles like Clockwork and was a constant radio presence, so much so that she had joked about her main relationship being with the radio. Several of the earlier shows from the Warrior tour were canceled, with health concerns being cited. In January of 2014, Kesha checked into a rehab facility to receive treatment for an eating disorder. She finished her stay in March, and upon leaving rehab, Kesha removed the money sign from her name. This was her way of reclaiming her image and starting fresh. In October of 2014, Kesha filed a lawsuit against Dr. Luke for sexual assault and battery, also claiming sexual harassment and gender violence. Earlier that year, fans had claimed she'd sent them letters from rehab confirming the abuse. Kesha claimed that in 2005, Dr. Luke had drugged and raped her under the pretense of giving her sober pills. This was shortly after he had convinced her to drop out of high school and move to Los Angeles. She also claimed she was forced to do drugs and was raped again by him on a plane in 2008. Over their years-long working relationship, Kesha claimed Dr. Luke verbally and emotionally abused her, which frequently included body shaming and resulted in depression, her eating disorder, PTSD, and feelings of isolation, as well as panic attacks. Because of this, Kesha decided to be freed from her contract with Kemosabe Records. In response, Dr. Luke sued her for defamation and breach of contract that same day, with his legal team claiming her allegations were made with the intent of either getting out of her contract or securing a better deal. Kesha's mother allegedly emailed Dr. Luke, telling him she would also go public with Kesha's allegations if he didn't free her from her contract. It was also claimed that Peep sent a similar message to Dr. Luke's lawyer. In response to the allegations, Dr. Luke's legal team referred to a deposition that Kesha gave in 2011, where she swore under oath that Dr. Luke had never drugged or raped her. The deposition was the result of a lawsuit from her former management, DOS Communications, in which Kesha and Dr. Luke were named as defendants. Kesha's legal team has claimed that she didn't name the abuse in the deposition because she had been afraid to speak up out of fear of retaliation. Kesha claimed Dr. Luke had threatened her career, life, and family to keep her silent. But now in 2014, Kesha was ready to speak and felt the lawsuit would help reclaim her career. Her lawyer at the time, Marcus Garagos, stated, "This lawsuit is a wholehearted effort by Kesha to regain control of her music career and her personal freedom after suffering for 10 years as a victim of mental manipulation, emotional abuse, and an instance of sexual assault at the hands of Dr. Luke." Both he and Kesha's mother believe Lady Gaga was also a victim of Dr. Luke's, with Peep having allegedly said it via email and Garagos having alluded to it in a tweet. The link in the tweet was to a then recent article of Gaga opening up about an assault that had happened to her as a teenager. A few months later, Kesha's mother Peep also sued Dr. Luke for PTSD, claiming he mentally tormented her and promised she could be Kesha's songwriter, and then went back on it. In response, Dr. Luke filed a defamation suit against her as well. Dr. Luke's defamation suit against Kesha was seen to first, as it was filed in New York, where her recording contract said all legal disputes would be handled. Kesha had filed her lawsuit against Dr. Luke in California, but would eventually countersue him with the same claims in New York. She requested to be freed from Kemosabe for the duration of the lawsuits. In February of 2016, New York State Supreme Court Justice Shirley Warner Kornreich denied this request. Kornreich claimed it would be unfair to grant Kesha what she ultimately wanted out of her lawsuit before the entire legal process was carried out. Kesha appealed this, but it was shot down again. She claimed on her Instagram that Dr. Luke offered to let her out of her contract, but only if she recanted her claims, which she refused. As a result, #FreeKesha began trending worldwide, with several fans and celebs alike, including Ariana Grande, Miley Cyrus, and George Takei, all expressing their support. Taylor Swift donated $250,000 to Kesha in order to help with her legal battle, which became an even bigger news story after Demi Lovato criticized Taylor for this. In April of 2016, Kornreich dismissed Kesha's case against Dr. Luke. She claimed the alleged rape was outside of the statute of limitations and that Kesha and her team failed to prove Dr. Luke's behavior constituted severe abuse or hate crimes. Kornreich wrote in her opinion, "There are no facts to support Gottwald's animus towards women. Gottwald is alleged to have made offensive remarks about Kesha's weight, appearance, and talent, not about women in general. Every rape is not a gender-motivated hate crime. Allegations that Gottwald told Kesha she was worthless and instructed her to stop eating did not meet the standard for emotional abuse. Her claims of insults about her value as an artist, her looks, and her weight are insufficient to constitute extreme outrageous conduct intolerable in civil society." Kornreich claims Sony's offer to allow Kesha to make music without Dr. Luke would keep her sufficiently protected from him throughout the duration of her contract. By August of 2016, Kesha dropped the suit she filed in California in an effort to focus on appealing the cases in New York. She also hoped to be able to continue releasing music, which she had already submitted to Sony in the interim. Permission was granted, meaning Kesha was able to continue work on her third album, Rainbow. Earlier that year, she made an appearance at Coachella, her first that hadn't been scheduled prior to her legal battles. Kesha joined Zedd to perform their song True Colors, which he'd offered to produce when she was still unsure if she'd be able to release music. That summer, she was also able to embark on her third tour named Kesha and the Creepies. In September of 2016, Dr. Luke's team sued Kesha's mother Peeb a second time, this time for libel because of a tweet she'd written about him. By 2017, both his cases against her were dropped. Peeb dropped her first suit and later walked back her allegations, admitting she had no first-hand knowledge of what occurred the night Dr. Luke allegedly raped Kesha. And of course, this doesn't mean that she no longer believed her daughter. In early 2017, both Dr. Luke and Kesha's legal teams asked permission to amend their claims and introduce new evidence, which Kesha would be denied. Dr. Luke's team accused Kesha of having sent Lady Gaga defamatory text messages, accusing him of raping her and another female artist who allegedly was Katy Perry. Katy later denied this in a deposition. Since Dr. Luke's team wanted to use Kesha's text as proof of defamation, Lady Gaga was eventually subpoenaed also. She defended Kesha in her deposition and expressed belief in her allegations. In the deposition, Gaga told Dr. Luke's lawyer, Christine LaPera, "Why on earth would this girl tell the entire world that this happened? Why on earth? Do you know what it's like for survivors? Do you know what it's like to tell people? Don't you roll your eyes at me. You should be ashamed of yourself." Gaga also claims she was a first-hand witness to the trauma and depression Kesha faced as a result, and claims to have seen Kesha undressed in Dr. Luke's studio herself. Years later, in 2020, the text messages Kesha sent to Gaga were ruled to be defamatory. It was also determined that because Dr. Luke was not a public figure, the standards for defamation were lower. Since he was deemed not to be this public figure, his team would only have to prove Kesha sent the text with negligence rather than with actual malice. Of course, Kesha's team filed an appeal to this, but in April of 2021, it was still ruled that Dr. Luke was not a public figure. But as a result of a new free speech law in New York, a judge later ruled that Dr. Luke and his legal team would have to prove Kesha acted out of malice in order to prove defamation. The following year, it was ruled Dr. Luke would not be responsible for Kesha's legal fees, even if he lost his case. As of now, the next court date is set for July of 2023. In the midst of the ongoing lawsuits, Kesha released her third album, Rainbow, in August of 2017. Months before the album's release, Sony had removed Dr. Luke as CEO of Kemosabe Records. Kesha executive produced Rainbow, writing and producing alongside artists such as Ben Folds, Rick Knowles, and her own mother. Kesha had started working on Rainbow while in rehab back in 2014, having to produce music on a toy keyboard. Musically, Kesha wanted Rainbow to show her as a real human with emotions and experiences. She stated, "To this day, I've never released a single that's a true ballad, and I feel like those are the songs that balance out the perception of you, because you can be a fun girl. You can go and have a crazy night out, but you also, as a human being, have vulnerable emotions. You have love." Kesha titled the album Rainbow as a symbol of hope. Rainbow was led with the gospel-influenced single Praying, which has since been considered one of Kesha's strongest songs, both lyrically and vocally. In an open letter, Kesha said Praying was about healing and having hope that's something even the worst people can do.
And I just think that, is kind of lyrically how that spins is like, I do hope they find peace.
What do you really hope that? Do you actually forgive them?
Forgiveness is hard, but yeah, I do pray for people at night, especially the ones that are the hardest, because that promotes me healing the most.
She performed Praying live several times, including her own tour, as well as on late night shows, Ellen and GMA. The live performances were praised not only for how emotional they were, but for how well and how consistently Kesha delivered on them. At the 2018 Grammys, she performed a rendition of Praying in honor of Time's Up, joined by Cyndi Lauper, Julia Michaels, Bebe Rexha, Camila Cabello, and Andra Day. The performance was considered the most powerful and heartfelt of the night, though Kesha did receive criticism for making the ceremony political. Rather, she was just one of the more prominent emblems at the time of why the Me Too movement was necessary. That night, Praying was nominated for Best Pop Solo Performance, but lost to Ed Sheeran's Shape of You. Rainbow was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album and lost again to Ed Sheeran's album, Divide. Though several songs on Rainbow are somber, as they have every right to be, several are high energy and assertive, like Woman and Let 'Em Talk. Several also center around the themes of maintaining one's power as well as life being short. Despite what she went through, several tracks on Rainbow are focused not just on working through Kesha's own experiences, but also empowering others, a great example being him. In Bastards, Kesha maintains her spirit will never be broken no matter what is said about her. The chorus invokes the faux Latin phrase illegitimi non carborundum, which means don't let the bastards get you down. It's been used in several songs, another popular one being Rihanna's Cheers Drink to That. Rainbow was critically acclaimed, with most commending Kesha's ability to musically reinvent herself and showcase her artistry in a way that it often felt hidden behind auto-tune, glitter, and punching electronic production. Rainbow debuted at #1 in the Hot 200 and made year-end lists of publications including Idolator, Rolling Stone, and Time magazine. In the years following, Kesha toured to promote Rainbow and even joined Macklemore on another tour. She continued to release singles, many of which had social messages. One was Here Comes the Change, a single for the Ruth Bader Ginsburg biopic. Another, called Safe, was a collaboration with her brother and Chica and meant to pay tribute to the victims of the Parkland school shooting, which took place in February of 2018. That year, Kesha also released her short documentary, Rainbow the Film, which showed the process of creating her album and the inspirations behind it. At the end of 2019, promotions began for Kesha's fourth album, High Road, released in January of 2020. Maybe it's controversial or just a case of fan reception not aligning with critics, but High Road is such a fun album to me. Though some outlets gave Kesha the lowest reviews of her career, others did at least give her credit for tackling social issues and for the amused, colorful atmosphere of the album. Other publications like Pitchfork, however, considered High Road a regression from Rainbow and a return to her more lowbrow electronic pop. The songs on High Road sound cobbled together, mixing genres and eras, but it fits the sort of F you, live in the present, my experiences make me who I am vibe of that album. Again, Kesha executive produced, working with a team of songwriters and producers that included Jeff Basker, Rabel, and again her mother. Some of the circusy theatrical production on High Road and Kesha's quirky and at times unpredictable vocal delivery earned her comparisons to Elton John. Personally, I view High Road as Kesha taking a break from the activism and fighting her career had been focused around for years at this point and giving herself more space to just breathe and create. Not to say she no longer cared about any of those things by any means, but she's a human and likely wanted to create some music that wasn't as heavy as some of the music on her last album. And still, High Road isn't entirely mindless party pop. As with Rainbow, critics noted Kesha's ability to make each track on the album sound diverse, a taste of her creative talent that had been so long suppressed. High Road seems similarly cathartic to Rainbow, but more in the sense of when you've been crying for a while and you're finally able to laugh. The album included features from Big Freedia, Rabel, and in a meta way, Kesha features the money sign version of herself on the track Kinky. Though she still talks about partying, it's now mixed in with themes of friendship, support, and self-acceptance. At the end of 2020, Kesha released her mostly supernatural-themed podcast, Kesha and the Creepies. In an exclusive, Entertainment Weekly said the podcast intended to cover topics including the occult, astrology, psychedelic art, and urban legends. The podcast had guest stars including Alice Cooper, Alaska Thunderfuck, Phoebe Bridgers, and St. Vincent. So far, the podcast only has one season, but the episodes are pretty entertaining. Kesha also had a short-lived Discovery Plus show, Conjuring Kesha, in which she and celebrity guests visited supernatural hotspots. In February of this year, Kesha teased her most recent album, Gag Order, with a snippet of a new song. Gag Order was officially announced in April, along with the cover art and the joint lead singles, Fine Line and Eat the Acid. Again, Kesha executive produced the album, primarily working with Rick Rubin this time around. Kesha told Rolling Stone about the album's title, "I feel as if there has been an implied gag order for a very long time now. With my ongoing litigation hanging over my head, I have not been able to speak freely because I know everything I say is scrutinized." Gag Order, which was just released in mid-May, received critical acclaim. The album earned a score of 82 on Metacritic, making it their highest rated record of Kesha's to date. On Pitchfork, it's her second highest rated album, only marginally behind Animal at a 7.1 out of 10. From what I've seen so far on social media, the fan reception of Gag Order is overwhelmingly positive. Several tracks are jarring and disorienting, and Kesha said she had to really tap into her rage to make the album. A lot of it evokes the feeling of just being so overwhelmed it feels as if your brain is playing your thoughts on several uncontrollable and colliding loops. Tracks like the Ram Dass interlude and Something to Believe In have this suffocating quality and feel like you're either falling into a deep sleep or waking up from hypnosis. The album is weird, yet intentionally so, which we've come to expect from Kesha, as different as that's looked over the years. Billboard referred to Gag Order as a post-pop emotional exorcism, which is a perfect way to describe it. Despite the claustrophobic production, Gag Order has spots of minimalism and in an almost ironic yet deliberate way seems more straightforward than her previous albums.
Everybody encouraged me to really go for it and not be polite. That was one of the main things that was my mantra in making this record is like, don't be polite, don't cater to who you used to be, don't cater to anyone else's opinions, just be fucking brutally honest.
The album is filled with several sobering silences that feel like momentary lapses or a pause before committing to saying what one truly feels. Kesha refers to the ongoing case in some songs and mentions the case against her mother and Only Love Can Save Us Now. The song is one of my favorites on the album and is a perfect blend of country, gospel, and hip-hop, genres Kesha's worked in over the years. Gag Order expresses caution and knowing, but also a refusal to apologize for the time when Kesha didn't know as much as she does now. She condemns her exploitation and her detractors, and at some points yearns for her long-gone naivete. However, people want to paint her, be it a vapid, reckless party girl, a pitied victim, or a survivor using her voice for others, Kesha uses Gag Order to paint herself as a human, and an imperfect yet unashamed human at that. So of course, if you didn't have it already, I do hope that you came away from this video with more respect for Kesha as an artist and of course as a human being. Because as I've often said on the channel, and as a lot of you guys have also pointed out, we do tend to look down on pop artists and pop music, when in fact it's often a lot of the music that we do collectively remember most as a genre, whether you love it or you hate it. And of course, as most of us know, often, not always, but often, a lot of the music that an artist puts out may not necessarily be the music that they want to be making, and that music may not be indicative of their full talent as an artist. And of course, despite everything that has been going on over the last few years, almost a decade at this point, Kesha is extremely commendable and has my full support for not only continuing with her music, but for speaking up and continuing to fight and make her voice heard. So I do hope that things finally for once go in her favor, but I guess we'll just have to wait until July to see. But of course, be sure to let me know your thoughts on Gag Order, your thoughts on Kesha's music in general, and drop some of your favorite songs on Gag Order down below in the comments, that way we can chat about it. As always, thank you so very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can stick around for more. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter so that you can keep up with me there. And if you'd like to become a channel member, the link is in the video's description. Again, thank you so very much for watching. Love you so very much, and I will see you so very soon. Bye-bye.